We've already talked about how habits can help us, and rituals are intimately connected to habits, but they're slightly different. A ritual is a repeated behavior or process, and when constructed negatively, the ritual that we take on can be used as a masking of anxiety or anything related to an OCD tendency, meaning when you create rituals that you have to repeat, that you can't not repeat, then it might be an unhealthy thing. It might become an obsessive compulsive behavior. However, when we consciously construct rituals, we get positive benefits from them for our mind, our body, our spirit, a sense of calm and positive emotions. We know that the brain really loves rituals. Rituals tell us that we know what we can expect in our day-to-day life. So we've talked about habits and things that we take on in our own day-to-day life. But when we zoom out the lens and we think about our habits in our communities and in our social networks, we can look at what are the rituals that we have around doing something. A ritual brings an element of positive emotion to the habit. We can think of rites of passages and celebrations where we gather in groups. This has been seen throughout history. Rituals such as weddings and people coming together to celebrate the union of a couple. Rituals such as a bar or a bat mitzvah to celebrate the rite of passage from for a young girl to become a woman or a boy to become a man. We look at how we have rituals around graduation ceremonies to mark the end of something old and the beginning of something new. This, on a group level, creates group cohesion. It can create a sense of awe to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And this feeds our hive mentality. So remember what we covered in our relationships module, that we as human beings are hive creatures. We want to belong. We want to feel that we are a part of the hive. And when we put all of these things together, we can move more efficiently, more masterfully towards greater flourishing, because we can see these are really important to our well-being. When consciously created, our rituals can be life-enhancing because we're wired to want to create these rituals. It creates a sort of sense of safety in our mind. We know what to expect. It's familiar. We've been here before. And we also can use rituals to help us make meaning, beginning, middle, and end. So some of those examples can be anything from a ritual you create around your own meditation practice. Maybe you want to, rather than just sitting down on the cushion and meditating, creating a ritual can create an element of sweetness or positivity. Maybe you light a candle. Maybe you say a prayer. Something that marks this is the beginning, then there's a middle, and then there's an end. In yoga classes, chanting Om in the beginning of a class and the end of a class can be a ritual that actually helps the class orient themselves. This is what's happening. Graduations, weddings, saying grace before meals. Rituals can actually be really life-enhancing and health-inducing because they tell the body that there's an element of consistency to life. There are things that we know. For kids, it's so powerful to have a bedtime routine. It can actually boost the well-being of the child if the child knows what to expect for a bedtime. If bedtimes happen at different times, sometimes we do this and sometimes we do that, and sometimes we read a book and other times we only brush our teeth and other times we don't brush our teeth. The inconsistency doesn't create the same sort of rhythmic behavior and calm and steady expectations and security that having a ritual would. And also circles. If you recall back in our relationships module, we talked about how human beings are wired to come together, and circles around the fire are so wired within us primitively that the invention of fire was the first gathering around a sacred object, coming together as a community. When we do these things, they're really life-enhancing for us. And even businesses are catching on. So this Huffington Post article talks about startup rituals. So Beyond Curious was a greeting ritual that an organization started to take on to say, hey, before we start every meeting, let us start in a specific way. This creates a sense of grounding, a sense of centering, a sense of a beginning, middle, and end. Some people who practice Judaism will kiss the mezuzah before they walk into the room and then kiss again when they leave. It marks the transition from one into the other, creates a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of attunement, and if used effectively, maybe even an element of positivity. So some organizations will start off meetings with everybody checking in and sharing what's good, something that's good. This helps a sense of community, a sense of connection, but it's also helpful to have the rhythm, the beat. It's like a song, beginning, middle, and end. And rituals can help make life more sacred. When we take the simple routine of what we might want to have, which is we eat dinner every night as a family, dinner can just become dinner. But if you add a ritual, then it becomes sacred, whether it be holding hands and saying a blessing, whether it be thanking the person who created the meal. Maybe it's having the ritual that everybody has their own place and they all help clean up at the end. It takes something that might be banal and actually makes it more beautiful, more awe-inspiring. We have a whole list of resources for you on rituals if you're interested to take a deeper look on everything from rites of passages to how we move collectively and how this impacts our well-being. Some questions for you to consider. What rituals do you have in your life? Or what rituals did you experience in your family, or do you currently experience in your family? And how can you use rituals to get more well-being and a greater sense of flourishing in your life? Or any other questions that you might have.